All right, everybody, welcome to June 9th. It's already June 9th. That's crazy. What we're going to go over today is I'm probably going to do just a quick review of everything, and then it has been like 2 or 3 weeks now, but I've literally only taken, I think, like 2 trades. I have to look through my phone really quick, but I've taken probably like 2 trades in the past like 3 weeks. Both were winners, fortunately, but it has been a long couple of weeks, so haven't really spent too much time on the charts. But either way, you guys know I'm really only on the charts 3 days per week max. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started. We could pretty much give an update to all of our pairs, or all of the pairs that I'm currently trading, and then I will pretty much go into my trades after that. So if we want to just go ahead a full refresh on what we are seeing, not much has changed from the overall scale. In terms of what we're looking at directionally, we guys obviously know that from the overall external structural range, from I guess a macro POV, we are technically still bearish there. However, we have seen an attempt to go lower, and then that inevitably failed. So you guys know that there could potentially be a transition here, because even though the external macro is bearish, the internal swing right here is bullish. So that's just something to note there, that they aren't aligned completely. But now once we get into our major minor intraday scenarios, I don't recall, honestly, I don't remember anything that we spoke about the last time we did a Zoom. I do remember that last time we didn't really give any kind of bias. We just went over the trades that I had taken over the past, I guess, week or so from the time, week or 2 ago, from the time of that Zoom. But obviously, from what we're seeing now, the main things that I'm noticing here is unsubstantial new low, right? I see order flow disruption here, right, leading into the internal major intraday bullish push. But what I want to note here is that maybe the unsubstantial new low could be showing us where this wants to go directionally. And so therefore, if I'm going just based on that idea that we failed to create a new low, so we might come up and touch a new high, the only thing that I guess would be noted in that scenario is that daily inefficiency. I don't really see anything else beyond that, though, in terms of potential POIs outside of that whole immediate POI, which is a bit reminiscent of what we saw, I believe it was on EU. Yeah, whenever we anticipated the immediate larger time frame POI, and that created a new high, and then that kind of fell. That's kind of, you know, giving me the same kind of relative feeling that could happen. But this POI is very crucial in my opinion, just because if we are to now note this internally, this is probably a solidified point. It's a solidified point based on the previous low. That's the last time that was taken out. This created the final high. So technically the final SR into the upside is still intact. Let's go ahead and make that blue. We know that that is internally still bullish. However, there has been, right, there's obviously going to be CBOSs internally here, meaning that this is technically the pullback after the CBOS. However, if I'm noting what is going on, I see a POI reaction, and I see that has concluded its move. Now, however, because this move right here has not fully taken out the low, and it's only taken out the liquidity, and it looks as if internally there could be something else there. Yeah, if this is to continue higher, in my opinion, we have to break through here. Oh, sorry. This is something that's kind of sticking out here. This potential POI is sticking out to me as the immediate continuation. However, there already has been a reaction confirmed here, because that confirmed reaction is already there. How this reacts based on the immediate high will pretty much dictate, in my opinion, if we are to go higher or lower in this situation. Obviously, the order flow is bearish completely from kind of anything medium term kind of related. However, if this is to break this high substantially and we are not to see any type of reaction here, and we just see this start to kind of impulsively give us a move up, then I'm very confident that this will probably go into previous highs here. And we could see a relative same scenario that we're seeing externally with the substantial new low and then the transition, and then this could be the first time we see a decent pullback after this transition, after the unsubstantial new low. So if you were to ask me what my bias is right now, for the short term, I don't even want to say bearish. I would say if this is to give us an impulse to the upside, it is bullish. But other than that, I probably would not have a bias, because I don't really, you guys know, I don't really like to find that immediate continuation if there is an unsubstantial new low or a high created, because after the liquidity has been taken, we don't really know what can happen. So in my opinion, I'm kind of more so just waiting to see if this could convert into a bullish sense, but I'm not really looking for that kind of bearish side of things. AUD USD, this one I haven't really touched in a while. It is a bit tricky because obviously the external completely, I believe it is still bearish. Yeah, it is still bearish from pretty much every sense of the word. From the macro, the swing. However, the internal, minor, and major does seem to be reacting relatively in a, relatively high momentum in a bullish manner. And let me actually delete this. So what I don't really like about this is that it's kind of looking like we could see some type of false flag pattern here, where we take the liquidity and then go the opposite direction, especially with how impulsive this is looking. Let me go to H8. So because this has technically already swept through liquidity, I'm not too confident that this is going to continue from a bearish sense, because obviously there is, I would argue that there's probably a turbulence point here. You could see that there is a candle of interest there. I just can't really find the candle for it. But what I'm going to do is just go based on the open and the high of the wick, is that there is technically, right, a candle or something of interest here. There is something there, but what I don't like is that we have already given, an impulsive move to the upside. We've just cleared liquidity, and in my opinion, if we were to clear liquidity here, I wouldn't want to see this deep retracement. I would have wanted to see this continue lower into the target if I am to maintain a bearish bias. But as of right now, I'm not really maintaining that bearish bias just based off what I'm looking immediately right now. I would need to see some sort of decent transition here, at least from, right, any type of minor intraday stance. I would want to see something bearish occur. Obviously, we don't just need a CVOS because that just continues higher. So we would need to see some sort of transition if I did want to continue lower, but I don't really see that occurring right now. So if you are to ask me where this is going, I'd more than likely argue to the bullish side, just because of the internal liquidity grab. And even though everything externally is bearish, I just don't think the timing is right for that continuation towards the downside. So I guess we'll have to wait and see on that. Euro USD. Okay, why is that not here? Euro USD. This one's also a bit tricky, because realistically, we do want to see, I personally do want to see this continue lower. I think this looks more bearish than the XY looks bullish. However, like I said, I would like to see this, pop up a little bit higher if we are to impulsively break, you know, this short-term high. And if that is to happen, then I'm really counting on this, you know, to come a bit more down. If I am to just judge this based on how it looks directionally externally, then I would more than likely argue that this is technically bearish. And the only reason why I'm saying that is, let me see. Do some red. All right, solidified point there, into this high here, CBOS. Sorry. Now the thing that kind of not confuses me, but this is where I'm kind of, you know, wanting to transition into a bearish sense, is where, excuse me, where this reaction is technically confirmed. Okay, why is this? All right, 1 second, guys. Okay, once we see the reaction be confirmed, in my opinion, this solidifies the low as the pullback of low into high into retracement. So because that has caused a reaction, right, and it even wanted to give something, you know, this was obviously the COVID move from 2020, that wanted to give something, but that did not break any important highs. So because this has now caused order flow disruption to the downside, we have a confirmed reaction. In my opinion, we are now looking at this being, at least for the medium term, bearish. Let me go ahead and mark these. So just due to that bias alone, that would technically signify that I'm still looking for continuations to the downside, especially now, because if, like I said before, we were at the time we were anticipating this 2-week wick right here, and that we were anticipating that to be essentially the continuation higher, at least for the short term. That target has technically been met here. Right, high was met there. We obviously already had the transition here. We've mentioned this before, but because we have an unsubstantial new low, and we've now technically given an impulse to the downside, I don't see this as being a bullish reaction from, you know, low high retracement. I see this more as an unsubstantial new low, giving a release and then struggling to continue higher, so that then we can, you know, obviously continue lower. And I would apply this exact same principle to where this is at right now from a minor intraday stance, because obviously we had a bullish transition this week, that being sweeping the low, creating unwillingness internally based on here, creating external unwillingness based on that break. That technically makes this whole area unwillingness. So just due to that, we can obviously infer that internally there must have been some sort of bullish order flow giving us that move into the upside, right? However, if this is okay, I don't know why this is doing this. Okay, if this is right to now continue bearish or to continue to the downside from the external bias, then the only thing supporting that is the fact that we've already had a failed reaction here. Let me zoom in for that. So obviously we know that we are bullish. Obviously we know that this is corrective. We see the CBOS confirming the reaction. So because this high did not break the overall high and then broke into the downside, that in my opinion is a sign of potentially structural disruption. of seeing potential structural disruption here. And if that is the case, then this should realistically continue lower from here. And I would more so now target at a minimum, I would target down here just because this is the final push down, which caused a full big rally to the upside. So I would more so anticipate this continuing lower, but honestly, I would really like to see this just completely collapse because if our DXY bias is correct, then this should pretty much just collapse. But yeah, that's kind of my bias there. I'm a bit more clearer on this one than AU. As far as GU, I think this is also one that I wasn't really looking at. Let's see. I don't recall any of our notes from before, so if I was to pick a side on this one, I think this one is arguably the more confusing of the three, just because of how choppy it's been. So if you are to look at our external, we know that there is a pretty big bearish structural range here. Right, that's pretty obvious. You could say DOI here. This is obviously solidified high into solidified low. So we know that our external is technically bearish. Sorry. We know that our external is technically bearish, at least from, I would say pretty much from every scale, from anything above swing. I would argue that we are technically bearish. From there though, if we are to zoom in a bit higher, then the only thing that's kind of concerning me is that if we were going to continue lower, this reaction, which confirms this high, should not have been broken, right? So you obviously see another kind of technically a variant, another of structural disruption, a failed continuation to the downside. This later on, right, led into the bullish LG, and obviously now we're seeing CBOS leading into another bullish LG, so the bullish order flow is still intact. So in my opinion, at least for the short term, we should at a bare minimum be reaching here. I don't see this collapsing from here just because of the failed reaction here. I don't see that necessarily bringing us lower. If this was going to go lower, it would have been from here and this impulse move to the downside. So for the short term, I do see this coming up higher. After that, then it really just depends, because we're approaching a very interesting area where we see the very clear change of character here. We see the big change of speed here. So now if this is going to be a relative area of interest, then and if this is going to go lower, then I would probably argue that it's going to happen here. So that's, you know, at least a couple hundred pips away. So I guess we'll have to wait and see how that reacts once we are there. Okay, so that's that. Now I'm actually going to mark up some charts really quick. One of them, I believe, was yesterday. Let me actually go out over here. Yes, this was here. I'll come back into that. And the other one was Euro USD. $1.07. Believe it was here. Yeah, this is the other one. All right, cool. So reminder too, don't do what I'm doing right now. I would say, like, I usually like to, if I take a trade or whatever, I like to record the outcome immediately afterwards. I don't like to wait, just because if I wait, I know that I'm gonna procrastinate and I know that it's not gonna get done. But I mean, I am gonna give myself, the benefit of the doubt here because I was technically out of the country. But if you guys do have a scenario that you guys are trading, I would say immediately record the outcome after the trade is done. It'll take you 15 minutes. It's not really the biggest deal ever. But if you are going to continue, or if you are going to try to maintain your journaling over time, then you have to do it after you take the trade. If not, in my opinion, I think it's you just find other things to do and it never gets done. So that's just a little tip from me there. Okay, so this was yesterday, I believe. Yeah, this was yesterday. Telling you guys what I saw yesterday. I did kind of get on the chart a bit late, in my opinion. I was kind of busy in the morning, so because I did see a very, very good transition that a couple of you guys did catch, and that was right when session started. That was here. I know, yeah, I see it here. I know a couple of you guys technically, or a couple of you guys did catch this scenario here where you see technically price came into a pause, right? This obviously, in order to, actually let me do this, in order to reach this POI from this high, then you have to be internally bearish. So because you see that micro being technically bearish there, once you see the micro conversion, that being here, whether you want to argue that's order fill disruption or not, it's up to you. But as soon as that order fill disruption does occur here, then realistically this is now your shift. And I know a couple of people took this scenario here, which is, in my opinion, this is as textbook as it gets. This is kind of order fill disruption to the absolute T. Unfortunately, I just wasn't on the chart at the beginning of the session, but this is, in my opinion, a very good trade, and you caught, the 730 momentum there, right when New York opens. So good job to some people that went there. And as for SL placements, if you were to have actually taken this scenario, there's two SLs. There's the aggressive SL, which is here, and in my opinion, the invalidation would have been here, just because this is the final low that went into the high that created the move, which was called the order fill disruption. So because that is the low that created that, in my opinion, if this is to continue higher based on the structural range, and if it breaks here, then I'm probably no longer bullish. So that's the conservative SL. This would have been the aggressive SL, that being a 14-to-1 and this being an 8-to-1. So big difference in terms of RR, but also a big difference in terms of hit rate if this is how you kind of take your scenarios or not, whether you go based on sold POI or if what you go based on invalidation. That's kind of up to you. But I know some people caught that scenario here. Let me actually mark this up here. And the reason why this is the target was this is my intraday high, technically. Intraday high, that was the TP1, and that's obviously still in profit because that was directionally correct. But my scenario was here. I believe it was an M1 candle. No, it was M5 candle, sorry. Yeah, so my scenario was here. It was the immediate continuation. If you go into M2, I'm actually going to replay this. This was my M5 POI. If we go to M5, you will clearly see that there is a candle there. Yeah, candle of interest there. And I had taken this solely because I had already seen the transition occur, this being the transition. Could even argue that it's a type of reaccumulation. And then after the impulsive move, then obviously there has to be some sort of release into the downside. But once I see that transition again, based on CBOS, then I'm only taking the trade based on the POI and my SL at the invalidation here. And the reason why I only took it into the intraday high, one, this is actually like a very short trade. This is, what is this, like an hour maybe? About an hour, 45 minutes, yeah. The reason why I did that is, I don't know if you guys recall, yeah, Osman did take that one, yes he did. Is I don't like to be caught up selling too low or buying too high. I hate that. I hate finding these, you know, M1 scalps that if you were to catch the same M1 scalp at the beginning of a trend, then you would catch a 1 to 50, 1 to 60, 1 to 70, 1 to 80, right? If you were to catch that same scenario deeper in the trend, then the RR kind of dies out, because let's say the target is here. If the target is here, but let's say you took your M1 entry here, then you would expect for this to reach up here. But if I'm taking the immediate continuation deep into the order flow movement here, then in my opinion, I'd rather just take it out at the minor intraday take profit, just because I'd rather just get out the trade, and I'd rather not get caught up with trying to sell too low or buy too high, because then I don't want to get broken even and then have the move continue lower. Then I've just wasted all of this time. That's kind of the reason why with a lot of these scenarios, I'm really only taking it into the immediate high. Obviously, if I would have taken it here, then I could try to partial out, because I actually caught, you know, a bearish to bullish transition, which is now a completely different story. This is just an order flow continuation right here. So just based on the scenario alone, I just thought it was right to only take it into the take profit, because obviously then later you see that I did get broken even, and then, you know, the move continued higher. But as far as this one goes, I think this was one of those scenarios where you kind of find it hard to lose, just because every structural level is aligned at this point. Even the scalp and the micro is aligned with that intraday bias that we're looking for, which at the moment was based on a CBOS confirmed LG continuation to the upside, because we are obviously externally still bullish. So that kind of just covers that. Every level of structure was technically bullish, and my SL is at the invalidation. So this is even one of those scenarios where I could arguably have risked 2, 3, 4x the original type of risk, just because of how confident I would be in this type of scenario. This is what I would consider a more higher probability scenario than anything before that. I would even consider this one higher probability than this one, because the transition hasn't fully occurred yet, whereas here the transition has occurred. I'm just looking at that continuation. But that's that for this one. Let me catch a screenshot of this. But yeah, that's kind of explanation for that. Very easy. Kind of took me like, honestly, it took me like 15 minutes to find this, and then just hold it for the 2 hours, and that was my day. Okay, I think that's that. Continuation. Right, so that's this one, adding it to the collection. Cool. Last one, Euro USD, and then I'll get to some questions from you guys. Hopefully I'm not dragging this on too much. Cool. This was, I believe, 2 weeks ago? A week ago. Mine's in the chat? No, it's on the recording, brother. It's on the recording, brother. This one kind of relatively same scenario. From what I remember, this was, yeah, they transition into the upside. My bias here, I believe this was order flow disruption as well. Right? Let me try to recall what happened. Okay. Yep, it was order flow disruption. Okay, order flow disruption right before session. Let me note that here. Sorry. So now let me remember exactly where this entry was. Let me just look through my phone. Okay, it was an M1 trade. Yep. So I guess here you could also argue that we have another type of order flow disruption, but there is no clear CBOS, not even from a micro standpoint, I believe. Yeah, I wouldn't consider. Yeah, I'm pushing it if I'm saying this is a CBOS. I'm pushing it in my opinion, but in my opinion here, you could push it that there is also an internal order flow disruption as well. But more so, just one of my more preferred types of confirmations is obviously the high momentum. High momentum, which is kind of it's kind of like an engulfing externally. I'm pretty sure it was. Yeah, you could see very clear engulfing there. So my entire scenario is the inefficiency fill with my SL at the invalidation. That's my scenario right there. Just so you guys have that for reference. There we go. That was my scenario there. High momentum. External. That's kind of how I see it. A high momentum move is an external engulfing candle, which is kind of, you know, one of my preferred confirmations. We can get into some of that stuff too as well if y'all want here in a bit. Yep, that's that. And my target therefore being previous intraday high. Yeah, around there. So right around 6 to 1. That was kind of the only other scenario I took over the past week or two. I think, yeah, I think this was last Thursday, yeah. Before that, I kind of didn't really take anything the whole week. There we go. So this here is the transition. Actually, I might need to. Okay, you know what I'm gonna do? 2 images is fine. All right, that concludes that. All right, guys, that's that for today. Do you guys have any questions right now? Anything you guys want to go over? I did see something interesting in the chat today. Let's see who's on the call right now. Cool, we got that. I know I saw what Lewis said today about this is what happens when you correlate swing and micro. Secret sauce. Obviously he's joking, right? But like that's, you know, trying to be a bit serious. You guys know how he is, but trying to be serious, right? There is a correlation there that kind of I like to talk about, but I'm actually going to show you guys something. It's just how to think about correlating levels of swing. Therefore, I would more so name this one the security of a scenario. Security of a scenario. And then down here, I'd probably put level of structure. So it's kind of like I don't even know how to name this kind of thing, but the higher in level you go, the higher you go in level of structure, right, the diminishment of the security follows that. And I guess if you guys don't understand what I'm trying to say here is, if you obviously, if the, I'm sorry, I kind of did this backwards. Hold on one second. This. No, wait, I did that right. Did I? No, 1 second, 1 second. I'm having a brain fart here, guys, sorry. Yeah, there we go. Sorry about that. It's kind of like a linear relationship here, where the higher you go in terms of levels of structure, right, the higher security is. So if you're looking at a swing scenario, then obviously the security of that is going to be much higher than if you're looking at a micro, right? Just because the micro will obviously compose the scalp, which would create the minor, major, which would lead into the swing. So if the swing is backed by so many more levels, then the swing is obviously more secure. But if you're trying to combine now to, let's say you're combining a micro scalp into a swing position, then the biggest problem that you will run into is timing, because there's a lot in between there. Because if we're to list out every single level of structure, at least that we associate with, swing, position, it's kind of as high as we go. But let's say, for example, we're looking at trying to correlate a scalp and a swing. Well, there's a lot in between there, being the intraday scenarios, and this can obviously sway the direction of swing, and it could also mess with the timing of the scalp entry. So I have seen a lot of people be able to do that, but obviously I don't know the entire story. I don't know how many tries it took. I don't know how many losses came in before that. But that's why I kind of stay away with that with you guys. I kind of want you guys to at least always consider the minor and the major intraday, because if you do that and you even take entries solely off the minor intraday, then your hit rate will inevitably go up, just because they're focusing less on the less secure levels of structure and you're focusing more on maintaining a bias and following that bias. So I guess what I'm getting at here is, if you are to try to correlate levels of structure, I wouldn't try to correlate only the scalp and the swing. I would more so try to correlate the minor and the major to the swing, and then see if I can capitalize on an entry from those two. Nico, let's stop the mess, bro. Stop the games, bro, please. But yeah, that's kind of that there. I read that in the chat today. Thought that was interesting. If he wants to hear that, he can get on the Zoom, bro. I'm not about to just go out of my way for that. But other than that, I have been seeing you guys doing well. A couple of you guys are doing well. I am still seeing a lot of journals. But other than that, do you guys have any questions that you guys want to go over? I can stay here for a little bit. if you guys have any questions. Cool, guys. So no questions? Anything you guys want to go over today? How's life in post-college? How's life being post-college? It's been a fucking roller coaster, man. I'll tell you that. It's been a fucking roller coaster. It's a pretty big change, bro. If I'm being honest. But I would say, if I was to summarize it in one sentence, I would say it's been a fucking roller coaster. I've traveled to like 4 countries in 3 months. For good reasons and bad. So, you know, I guess this is just what life is now. But I mean, the biggest difference that I've seen is just like my schedule. Like, I used to be a very blocked, how do you call it? Time blocking, I think it's what it's called. I used to be a time block kind of guy where it's like these hours are for this hours for that, this hours for that. Whereas now, kind of after college, there are still certain set times for certain things. Like, for example, the Zoom every 2 weeks at this time, that's kind of scheduled in, as well as my trading Tuesday through Thursday from, I have to be out just by 7 till about 11. That's kind of like a time block thing. How it's a non-negotiable. This is for that time, and the only thing that comes before that is if something of high priority comes, you know, ahead of that. That's the only way that I would skip this. But other than that, like, the rest of my day is very this. Okay, today I'm doing this, so I'm gonna do this in this order, in 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then the next day I might have to do the same things, but I'm gonna do it in a different order, 3, 2, 1, 4. So I don't really time block anymore. I just more so look at what needs to get done, and then just go based on priority. But I would say that's kind of like the only change that I've seen post college. But other than that, just trying to, you know, figure out life outside of that. Yeah, you know, your life used to revolve around school. Now you can revolve your life around, you know, whatever it is that you want to do. Because, yeah, man, there's a whole bunch of things too. Like I'm kind of getting to that age now where my friends are getting kids, they're getting houses, they're settling down, and it's kind of weird because that's not really what I want to do, you know? No, you're good, man. You're good. You can turn on your mic. I mean, you could turn off your mic as well.
Hello? Is it working?
Yeah.
All right, well, yeah, that's cool. It's cool. I don't gotta type.
Yeah, that's good.
But
That's
I
good.
just I never reached out to you. So much shit has happened since my
Yeah.
ACL.
Mm-hmm.
So I just been booked up, and then I saw the Zoom, and I had the time, so I was like, let me get in here and see how this man's doing. Um, yeah, no, life's crazy, bro. Life is crazy. Do you enjoy the free time?
I wouldn't say I have much. Oh, okay. No, I have a lot of free time.
Well,
Nah, free time is bad,
you
bro.
know, having more freedom to, like, you don't have classes taking it up. You don't have to do your homework, you know.
Yeah,
You got a little bit
it's
more
weird.
time.
It's weird, man. It's weird because
Yeah, you're right.
you're trying not to put your free time on the shit that's not going to be good for you, you know? Because you could easily pick up bad habits here and there.
Oh yeah, incredibly easy.
Yeah, like the only way to stay away from the bad habits, in my opinion, is to just stay busy doing other things. That's kind of like the way that I go with it.
Very interesting.
But yeah, because
But yeah, no,
you're my
that's
age,
all I
right?
had. Yeah, we're the
Yeah.
same age.
All right, cool.
Same exact age.
But yeah, man. It's only been 6 months, but it feels like it's been way longer.
Dude,
Yeah.
such a long 6 months, dude.
Yeah. Are you done with your ACL yet?
No, started jumping a couple weeks ago,
Okay.
but we kind of ran into a setback because I broke my hand
Oh, what
and
the
I had to
fuck?
have surgery.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's why I'm one-handed right now. So because of that, I've been going to PT and whatnot, been focused on my hand.
Was it a ACL and meniscus tear, or was it just
Meniscus.
ACL?
Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
no.
ACL meniscus. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You're in. I think your arm will recover before your knee, bro.
Oh yeah, no, this is gonna
Yeah.
be 6 weeks.
Yeah. But
6 weeks,
no, man.
and then I gotta get another surgery to get him out, the
Yeah.
pins out.
But no, man. I wish you luck with that, man. That's a bitch and a half, bro. If I'm being honest, that ACL tear.
You know how it goes.
Yeah, I know. I know how it goes, brother.
Yeah, that's all I had. I just wanted to see how you were doing as a
Yeah, man.
person.
It's all good. I do like to see that you're being positive about it. It was really hard to do that, at the time. But no, man, I do wish you luck. I wish you luck not only with your knee now, but with your arm. But yeah, man, I know you'll get through it.
Those those no putting weight on your leg days. Those were dark
Yeah, those are
days.
tough. Yeah, those are
Those were
very dark.
dark days.
Not to mention I'm a side sleeper. It's really bad, bro.
Oh fuck. But yeah, that's all I have, man.
Oh yeah, cool. Does anybody have any more questions, or should we just end it off here? Unless you guys have some questions with anything chart related. Cool. So no more questions, guys. All right. I guess we can end it off here.